So let's talk open educational resources, OER. OER is not a recent movement, but it has gained a lot of traction over recent years as textbook costs have continued to escalate and outpace many of the other factors of education, including tuition. So by the end of the session, you'll be able to define OER. You'll be able to explore some of the benefits and challenges of implementing OER as an individual instructor and also as an institution. Ideally, here we'll be able to share some literature, share some resources, and then empower faculty choice on what and how they might implement OER in their course. So what is OER and what are open educational resources? The definition is essentially they're materials used for teaching and learning that are freely available and they're openly licensed. So you have the ability to use them, customize them, share them without violating any kind of copyright laws. We typically think of the 5 Rs. We can retain, reuse, revise, remix, and redistribute the materials. Some examples of those are going to be full-on textbooks, videos, quizzes, syllabi. OER matters because there is a huge rise in cost of textbooks, and that is competing with other costs that have continued to rise as well. So as we consider our students and their opportunity to take our courses, not only are they paying tuition, but they're also needing to pay for life. And then we add textbooks on top of that, that can be prohibitive for some individuals. And so we want to continue to benefit our constituent students in our community by reducing textbook costs where we can. It helps to remove those barriers to completing their degree pathway on time. It gives access to all students, especially in the online and hybrid environments on day one. So they don't have to worry about any kind of mishaps with ordering a textbook. As an instructor, I can recall during COVID that there were textbook shortages, and so people weren't being able to access their textbooks. And luckily, we were able to get digital copies, but if they were looking for a paper copy, it just wasn't feasible. So for some students, they were delayed start or they were not being able to access the materials on day one. So this gives everybody access to all course materials immediately once they enter the course. And then beyond finances, it does allow for flexibility and accessibility again for every student, no matter where they are. And personally, I serve in online capacity students all across the country. For one institution, for another institution, they're all across counties. So we're talking about scores of miles that they may have to travel to pick up a book, etc. So if they just have access to it on day one, embedded within the course, it's much better for them. There are research-backed benefits, and I've linked these studies in here. But essentially, it's stating that OER doesn't mean that it's less rigor or it's less comprehensive. In fact, many students find that they do just as well or even better with OER because they are more tailored and customized and selected by the instructor to be specific to the course learning outcomes and the module outcomes. 82% of students felt they would do better if their book was free and buying a copy of it was optional. And again, there's many different reasons for that when you dive into some of what that data looks like. And for some of them, it's because it is cost prohibitive, and so they are delayed in purchasing that book or accessing that book or that access code. And for others, they just felt like it'd be one less burden that they would have to worry about coming up with the finances for that, and they would just be able to use that money for some other need. Not having books, 90% of them, for students that can't afford the book on day one or can't get access to the book on day one, 90% of them reported they fear that it's going to affect their course grade. So that was another stress and added factor. Down at the bottom, that 79% report being impacted by COVID. So that again was a 2021 study, but many of those same sentiments are carrying forward into current students as well, who were in high school, who were in middle school at the time. So they recognize the significance of being able to have the materials that you need immediately. Some of those misconceptions, again, that we consider when we talk about OER, open educational resources, OER isn't high quality. but that's just not true, especially now there are just numerous resources that hopefully we'll be able to share here, and you may have some as well that you can share back and forth in the comments. But OER is, there's plenty of opportunities out there for peer-reviewed sources, entire textbooks that are peer-reviewed and updated often. Um, you can also think about, well, it's only for online courses and I teach in person, but I would challenge that absolutely. There's plenty of institutions, there's plenty of instructors that have adopted OER for their in-person and hybrid courses. Personally, I've taught chemistry in person and it was all OER, saving students about $158 per textbook there. So it is absolutely for all modalities. Um, the misconception of it takes too much time, that is a barrier. It does take time to rewrite your course or to sub out materials for OER. But there are resources available to help you plug and play. And then certainly there is support available if you've got peers, and certainly you will have peers that have adopted, whether it's an assignment, a module, or an entire course. And they are probably very happy to help you. There's a reason why they've adopted OER and they're probably passionate about it to a degree. So it does take an investment of time, but it's not so cumbersome that it can't be done. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. The added barriers to implementing OER, the wondering of where do I even start? Where do I find materials? And we'll share that in just a second. And it does take time to implement these things. Can my students adapt to no textbook and not having to have an actual like resource that it's either online and they go through a chapter online? This works just the same way, and they can actually print out copies if they want to, because again, it's open educational resources. So if they want to print a copy, they have something tangible, they can do that. Um, this is definitely, students are definitely a native to digital materials at this point. So they learn stuff, they read stuff, they are entertained by stuff that is all digital. So they can learn in the same capacity with digital materials. But if they do want something tangible, again, they can print it, and we'll show you some of those resources as well. Does my leadership support this? Um, Probably, because again of those barriers that get removed by taking costs down for students, and letting students focus on the content and the material, and having less of a financial burden per course. So I also know of some instructors that were intentional and they were planning on using OER, but recognized that it was a huge time commitment that they just didn't have because of the different types of courses they taught. They taught 3 different courses on their 5 course load per semester. And so they flipped part of that script and changed their pedagogical approach to the class, and many of the tasks and the assignments that were developed were something along the lines of find an open educational resource that covers what you just learned, find something that is similar to your textbook. So they almost crowdsourced it, having students become the teachers, or students become the constructor of the course materials. And that really allowed them to pick and choose, but also allowed such a wide array of student-led thought processes develop some of those materials. And so that was really a student-centric approach to rewriting courses using OER, but it has turned out to be a success story in their particular avenue. So OER licenses, just because we find it on the internet doesn't necessarily mean that it is free to use and distribute as we see fit. So there are different license codes or Creative Commons codes that we want to pay attention to. And again, I have linked here for some further reading on it, but these are essentially the symbols that you'll see. When it says it's public domain, that is a free-for-all essentially. It is use it, watch it, do what you want with it. And I'll show you some resources for that as well. When there is CC, that is Creative Commons, if it's denoted by BY, then it means do what you want with it. Just make sure that you credit me. So you're going to give an attribution to the author. It's by me, it's by you, etc. So we're going to credit the person. If there's an essay, that's usually going to be a share alike, and that means you can do with it what I did with it, but you can't do something else. So if I have put it on the web, you can keep it on the web, but you can't go and put it on a t-shirt and sell it, something of that nature. No derivative works. So if you see the NC on here or ND on here, you can use my work, but only in the exact same format in which I have produced it. So you can't alter it or piecemeal it. It must be presented in the same exact way that I have constructed it. And then non-commercial, so you just can't monetize it. You can't take my work and then go out there and make money off of it, print it, publish it on Amazon or whatever. So you just can't monetize it. So there are different licenses, or there are different acceptable use denotations on certain things. And public domain is fantastic. Just a regular CC is fantastic. A CC BY is fantastic. That means that you pretty much can do whatever you want to do with those in your classroom. But there is more reading and a little more in depth here when you have questions on those. And then again, I'm going to show you and share with you a lot of different sites and links that are public domain and Creative Commons that you can use ad hoc. So where to start with an OER? There are some different places. If you're looking for, I just want to substitute my textbook and I want to start there for now. I use a textbook and we use chapters out of the textbook. There are plenty of opportunities to do just that. OpenStax is quite popular because it covers an array of domains and disciplines. And BC Campus is another one. LibreText is another one. If you are looking to figure out how to write a lesson using OER, or if you want to see what some courseware looks like and activities that are OER, MERLOT and OER Commons, both of those work as well. I would always encourage folks to start by just exploring. And again, I encourage you to do some reciprocal learning, explore with students, learn alongside your students and see how they're feeling and get their feedback, because that really helps inform you and empower you as you start to switch over from a traditional textbook into something that is OER. There's a lot of open source media out there. So if you're looking for images, videos, sound, artwork, whatever the case that you're looking for, there are places, there's entire repositories that are Creative Commons and will allow you to just plug those right into your course. And so I've linked a lot of them here, but this is not the end-all list. I'll give you some more as well, but these are just some popular ones. Again, I think it's a brilliant idea that faculty that I know of crowdsourced it to his students, and what came of it was just a lot of things I had never even heard of. So it was an opportunity for him to then share what they have shared with him and again, build that collaboration of knowledge. Open source video. These are all linked, and I'll put the link to this slide deck in the comments, but all of these have open source video where you can search by your topic or your discipline, and there's going to be something in there for you to show anywhere from a 2-minute clip up to a 10-minute clip. And again, those short videos that are just supplements to your lesson. More repositories. All of these here have open educational resources. SUNY does a great job. Yale does a great job, but there's actual courses in there that you can take, your students can take, that are completely free, and you are able to take from them some of the content in there that you want to push into your own course. Again, just check the CC license on them or the CC flag on them. Michigan has got a great repository, just tons of stuff that you can go through and see what they offer. There's great news feeds, and so as new stuff comes on board or new research gets published, these are great. Follow along and stay up to date in these particular links, because again, they are publishing new information and new literature that supports OER initiatives. So how do you start? Generally, before every semester, you're probably going to audit your course, check for broken links, check to make sure that students can still access everything. And you can start doing that at any time and see what is outdated, what is old, what could we rethink, reimagine, and then start somewhere. You don't have to redo the entire course, but start with a module or start with an assignment and see how you can switch out something that was traditional textbook based or traditional publisher based and flip that into something that is OER. So check out one of the repositories, see what you have available that you can plug and play. Go through the OpenStax, go through the textbook of a course that you teach and see how it's not broken down very similarly to what your publisher probably has produced as well, and see what you can't piecemeal out of there and what you can replicate, or just select only the chapters that are relevant to your course or only the chapters that are relevant to your particular module. You can use filters when you search for images. If you want to use images in your course that are OER, when you do a Google image search, search whatever topic, you click on images, and then right in the middle, there is a button that says filter, and you click on the filter and then you put Creative Commons, just select that. So, and that will make it so that you can use whatever image is on there. You see the image has changed, but you can use whatever image is on there then into your course and not have to worry about any kind of copyright violations. And YouTube will let you do the same thing. Again, being owned by Google. Definitely connect with your librarians because your librarians are really good at seeing what they can access to allow you to import into your class. Beyond just publishing materials, they can search obviously databases of literature and research and plug that information, help you plug that information into your course. And then if you have a Center for Teaching and Learning, um, whatever you've got that is similar to that, there's probably instructional design, and they're probably aware of OER and could probably help you get started in replacing an assignment or a module until you're ready to replace the entire course. Definitely collaborate again with peers. There's probably going to be a multitude of people on your campus that have already started this. And if you put the call out to, hey, I'm interested, help me get started, it's most likely that whoever has adopted OER is probably passionate about it because of what it does for students, not to mention their own academic freedom and being able to use materials that are suitable to their particular course objectives. So you'll find people that are passionate and they'll be like, yes, I will absolutely help you get started. But you've got to put the call out and be the squeaky wheel to get the oil, if you will. There's other communities that you can join as well to help you get started if you are unable to find support on your own campus. These are Open Educational Global, so they're just a conglomerate of you, me, and everybody else that is like, I'm interested in OER, and there's information sharing and resource sharing there as well. Spark is another one where there is opportunity to collaborate or learn and find other people that are going through the process of adopting OER into their course. Certainly, as administrators, you can support faculty, or faculty can ask for support from administrators on campus. Rather than foundations or scholarships being used for textbooks for students every single year, rethink that approach and find a stipend to allow faculty the time or the project to rewrite courses using OER. And then that way, all students will benefit from that course and be able to benefit from free or reduced textbook costs. So it's a one-time cost rather than a recurring cost for the foundation or for scholarship funds that are coming. Student voice. Encourage students, again, to be reciprocal learners, thinkers, designers in this process and get some of their feedback. Do they like when there is an open educational resource? What is it? How does it impact them? Does it impact their learning in good, bad, in different ways? Is there financial incentive? Certainly, if courses are flagged as zero textbook cost or low textbook cost, if they are flagged in some way, educate students that, hey, this class is zero textbook cost, or this class has reduced textbook cost, so they know that I want to sign up for that class. I know that I'm going to pay less if I sign up for that class, and see what happens if enrollment doesn't shift to favor those kind of classes. But you have to educate the students first on what that flag denotes. And then share that cost savings data. So as an administrator, what does that look like? Do you have courses that have adopted OER on campus? And if you have, how much does that save your students that have enrolled in those classes? How much money then is pushed back into our community that otherwise would have been sent to essentially a publisher to use a textbook for a semester or rent a textbook for a semester? So share that data, be very liberal about it so that people know their impact, their actual physical impact on individuals within their own community. And then again, as faculty member, when you are selecting OER, you have an incredible choice on the materials and how they can specifically align to your course objectives or your module objectives that support your course objectives. There's generally not going to be a requirement to adopt something new every couple of years. For example, OpenStax, they'll do a call for any kind of erroneous or omissions that are inside of their open textbooks. And so people are allowed to say, hey, this needs to be changed or updated or edited, and then they'll roll out another edition. But generally speaking, the entire thing doesn't change. It is the part that needs to be changed or needs to be updated or something needs to be added. And so your links aren't going to break. The materials won't be moot, and you won't have to rethink your entire course anyway. It'll be more of a just got to tweak something here or there. So that allows for long-term time saving as well and energy saving. And then typically a lot of these OER services have some kind of ancillary materials, whether it be study guides or text tests or uh, slide decks. There's already things that are created. So you can, just like a publisher would hand you, you can update and upload those materials to your course as well. And again, pick and choose what you want, change what you want because it's open education. So if there's things you want to add to it, strip out of there, you can do that without violating the publisher's rules. And again, you don't have to wait on teacher editions. So if you are going to be hiring adjuncts for your department, you don't have to wait on trying to get them a teacher edition. When they're starting the class, you just give them the course that has the OER in it and it's ready, set, go. So there's lots of benefits there. There are, again, I shared one success story, but I would encourage you to talk with other people in your institution that have used OER and find out how it worked for them, what their students thought, because they're out there. And generally speaking, the commitment to adopting OER is not negative, and folks that do it tend to have great experiences with it. So again, if you're ready to try, super encourage you to talk with your Center for Teaching and Learning, Department of Teaching, Learning, Innovation, your instructional designers, librarians. All of those people will have knowledge and be able to help you. Again, start small. You don't have to do the whole thing all at once. How do you eat an elephant? You eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? Start small and begin to modify. Share with a colleague that you're interested or that you're doing this because you might get some reciprocal support there. And it's a lot easier to do that when you're not forging the path alone. And then once you are comfortable, advocate for OER adoption at your department level. Once you have some data, once you have some efficacy in the process, because again, you'll instantly see what it does for students. And when they sign up for your class and they're expecting a $100 textbook because that's what it is in other sections or other CRNs, and they don't have to pay for that, they're like, wow, really? And once they understand the rationale behind what you're doing, they're super appreciative that you are looking out for them as an individual human being. So once you have the process started, advocate for that for the rest of the students at your institution. So at this point, we have defined OER. We've explored some of the benefits, but also talked about those challenges. I've shared a little bit of literature and I've shared some resources. I'm hopeful that you will share back in the comments anything that you know that works well, or any of the challenges that you foresee that I didn't talk about, because that'll help me understand as well what barriers still are out there. And then again, we talked about how it empowers choice as a faculty member. So we've covered all of our objectives today. Super excited to read any comments that somebody would have about their questions or ideas or wonders, or what specific they would need, and see if I can't answer or somebody else can't help answer some of those concerns. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this leads you to adopt OER at your course.